Hello everyone, welcome to my lecture series of electromagnetic fields. We will discuss different theories, phenomena and numerical solution of different cases in this series. I hope this series will give a fruitful outcome to physics scholars or engineering students.
So welcome back. After discussing the concept of potential and potential difference, now today we are going to learn about the potential due to line charges, potential due to surface charges and potential due to volume charges. See, in all three kind of charge distribution we are going to discuss different cases. So when we will talk about line charges, then at that time ring charges and infinite line charges, finite line charges, all kind of line charges will be covered in the discussion. Similarly for surface and volume charges will be the point of discussion. So in general, let us assume a right-handed Cartesian coordinate system, as you can see, and I am assuming a finite line charges. As you can see, the charge distribution is irregular shape. Fine. So line is not straight line; it is randomly moving. So for such charge distribution, let us say we are having the line charge density as rho L coulomb per meter for this charge distribution, and we are having some point A on which we are interested to find the potential. So for that, what is the standard procedure that we have already discussed? So first we are going to assume a small length of line that is called differential length, or say differential length charge. So this dl prime will be the differential length, and then we'll locate or will represent both the things, that is the point of interest and the small differential length, as per its position vector. So position vector of A is, let us say, r, and position vector of dl prime is r prime. And now, as potential is a scalar quantity, that is why the only thing that we are required for calculation is the magnitude of these distances. Fine. We are not actually concerned about the directions, because potential is a scalar quantity. If it should be the field intensity, at that time we need the magnitude as well as the direction of this position vector and distance vector as well. Fine. Here distance vector, so distance from differential length to the point of interest is, let's say, r, which is nothing but the modulus of r minus r prime. Okay, so having this information with us, we can write the small charge on the differential length segment so here we can say dq, that is a small charge on this length segment dl prime, will be equal to rho L, which is a function of r prime. See, if the charge distribution is non-uniform, then this line charge density will be the function of the physical position of the point on which the charge is laid. Fine. And if the line charge is uniformly distributed, then rho L r prime can also be represented as rho L itself. Okay, so this is only for uniform charge distribution. Either it is a line charge or surface charge or volume charge, if the distribution is non-uniform, then its density will be the function of its physical place. Fine. Otherwise you can represent the same as a constant. Fine. So for uniform charge distribution, okay, so here we are taking the general case. So I am considering the non-uniform charge distribution, in which the charge density will be the function of its physical place and multiplied by the small length, that is dl prime. Fine. So now from the definition, the small amount of potential due to dl prime can be written as dq, that is the small amount of charge on dl prime length, divided by 4 pi epsilon naught multiplied by distance. Here distance is nothing but capital R, and capital R can be written as 4 pi epsilon naught modulus of R minus R prime. Fine. So this is the small potential on the point A due to this differential length. Now if we want to determine the potential due to whole length of line, then simply for the whole length of line, considering the full length, we can write VA equals to line integration of dVA. Fine. So we can write line integration of, now dVA is nothing but, from the last equation we got dVA equals to dQ divided by 4 pi epsilon naught capital R. Fine. So here we can write, in place of dQ we can write rho L as a function of position, that is R prime, multiplied by the small length dl prime whole divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R volt. So this is the very general and standard practice to determine the potential due to any line charge. Now depending on the case and the distribution of charges, we can have the different forms of this equation, but whatever we have derived, that is this equation presented in the square, is the most general equation to find a potential on any random point A due to any kind of line charge distribution. Fine. Now we will discuss the some cases of line charge distribution, and we will derive the general formula for that particular cases. Fine. So let us consider a potential due to ring charge. So for the illustration, I have taken a Cartesian coordinate system and I have also taken a ring charge. So I am taking a ring with line charge density as rho L coulomb per meter, and the radius of ring is A. Fine. So radius of ring equals to small a. I am considering a point A on z axis. This is just for the easiness of derivation. Okay, in actual you can imagine this point anywhere in the space. Fine, but we need to derive a proper equation, and that is why I am considering this point on z axis. So on the height z, I am considering a point on which I need to determine the potential. Fine. Now the fundamental logic we all know, because we have discussed the same case when we will when we were talking about the field intensity. Fine. I request you to go through that video if you are new to my channel. Fine. So considering this case, we can write, now what will be the most convenient coordinate system to solve this case? Obviously, because the ring charge is there, so the coordinate system for the calculation will be cylindrical. Okay, so we are assuming a small differential length dl bar. So, and this length dl bar is in the direction of phi. So if it is supposed to be the cylindrical coordinate system, then this will be phi, and the direction of this length is also phi. So I can write a d phi. Okay, so, or either you can also imagine this length as an arc on this ring, and the length of arc is nothing but radius multiplied by the difference of angle. So d phi is the difference of angle and a is the radius for the ring. So in both the way we can understand this relation. Similarly, the distance r, that is from the differential length to the point of interest, this distance. So as you can see over here, this is making a right angle triangle with base a and height z. Fine. And the hypotenuse of this right angle triangle will be the distance between differential length and the point of interest a. So this distance can be determined with the help of Pythagoras theorem, which is equals to under root base square plus height square. So base square is a square plus height is z, so that is why z squared. And we are also having this relationship. Now what will be the amount of charge on this small length dl prime? So let us say dq equals to rho l as a function of r prime for non-uniform charge distribution multiplied by dl prime. Now dl prime is nothing but a d phi, so putting this value r prime a d phi. Okay, so now we are having all the things which are necessary. Now we will find the small potential due to dl prime on point A. So that small potential dVA can be written as dq divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r from the general definition. So in place of dq we can write rho l as a function of r prime multiplied by a d phi divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. In place of r I am writing under root a square plus z square. Fine. So this is the equation of differential potential due to differential length on point A. Now if you want to find the total potential due to ring, then what will be the procedure? So first we will write the equation that we have just derived, which was dVA equals to rho l function of r prime a d phi divided by 4 pi epsilon naught under root a squared plus z squared volt. Fine. Now if we want to find the potential due to wall ring, then we will need to have the closed line integration. Fine. So VA can be written as closed line integration of dVA. And in order to have the line integration, here d phi is a variable of integration. So if we want to cover the wall ring, then what should be the limit of phi? It should be 0 to 2 pi. So phi will be considered from 0 radian to 2 pi radian dVA. So this integration will in turn become rho l r prime a divided by 4 pi epsilon naught under root a squared plus z squared d phi. Now as you can see, we do not have any component containing the phi. Fine. So rho l r prime a, which is the radius of ring, 4 pi epsilon naught a square z square, all these things are constant and will be come out from integration. So the only part of integration that is left is integration of 1 with respect to phi, and integration of 1 with respect to phi will be phi itself with lower limit 0 and upper limit 2 pi. So solving this situation, this rho l r prime a will be considered as constant. Similarly 4 pi epsilon naught will be constant under root a squared plus z squared, and this integration by putting the upper and lower limit will give us the answer 2 pi, and cancelling this 2 pi with 4 pi in the denominator, finally we will have VA equals to rho l as a function of r prime multiplied by a divided by 2 epsilon 0 under root a squared plus z square. So as you can see, the potential at any point due to a ring charge depends on the perpendicular distance of that point from the ring charge. As you can see, the z is the perpendicular distance. If the point of interest is the center of the ring, if the point of interest, say our point A is on the origin, that is the center of the ring, then the value of z will be 0 and our equation will be rho L r prime divided by 2 epsilon 0 A. Fine. So the potential on the center of the ring will inversely proportional to the radius of the ring. Fine. So for the larger rings, the potential will be smaller at the center, and for the smaller rings the potential will be high at the center. This is just a observation that we can do from the any derivation. Fine. But final equation is rho L is a function of r prime multiplied by the radius of ring divided by 2 epsilon naught. If this situation is placed under in any other medium, then in place of epsilon naught we are going to write epsilon r epsilon naught. Okay, so this term depends on the medium. In this case we considered air or vacuum as a medium, that is why epsilon naught is there in the equation, multiplied by under root a square plus z square, which is nothing but the distance from the differential length to the point of interest. Moving further, the potential difference due to infinite line charge. So again, whenever we are considering the line charges, we will consider the same cylindrical coordinate system, because that will be the easiest way or easiest coordinate system to solve our case. So here again I am considering an infinite line charge on z axis. So as you can see, this yellow line, it is infinitely stretched from the negative infinity to positive infinity on z axis with rho L coulomb per meter charge density, and for this case we are considering that this is a constant, or say uniform line charge is distributed along this infinite line. So actually, to find a potential there is two ways. First way is the same that we have discussed up to now, that we first find the small amount of charge dq, then put it in a equation dv equals to dq upon 4 pi epsilon naught into r, and then we take the integration either line or surface or volume depending on the charge distribution. Fine. So this is the first way to find the potential. The second way that we have already discussed is that voltage, or say potential, is nothing but the amount of work done in opposition to field in moving some distance dl. So this is another way. This is the first way, and we have used this way to find the potential due to ring charge. Fine. In this second case, we'll adopt this second way, in which we first calculate, or we first determine the value of intensity for that kind of charge distribution. Then we will have some distance dl bar, and we will have a dot product, and then we will integrate along the line. Fine. So that result will also turn out to be the potential. Fine. So adopting this second way to determine the potential, however, the first way is also equally applicable. Fine. And you may try on your own if you want to. So adopting the second way, we know the intensity due to infinite line charge, that is E bar, equals to rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught r AR bar. Fine. Which coordinate system is used over here? Cylindrical coordinate system. It is very necessary to keep the proper coordinate system for derivation of any particular cases. Okay, and now consider a point A and B in the field. So I am considering both the points on xy plane and representing this point as per its radius. So RA is a radius of cylinder which consists of point A, and RB is radius of cylinder which consists of point B, and we are moving the charge from point B to point A. Okay, so here DL can be written as, so as you can see, both the points are in the same direction of radius. Fine, so for this case we can write dr into AR bar. This distance is our dr. Okay, so dr AR bar, and VAB can now be calculated. Minus stands for we are doing work in opposite to the direction of field. Fine, either the field is terminating or converging, that doesn't matter, but in any case, if we want to move some charge from a particular point to another particular point, then we must done the work in opposite to the field. Fine, so we are moving the point from point B to point A. E bar dot DL bar. You can also consider some general point. Fine, because at the time of dot product, this AR dot AR will only be the non-zero value. AR dot A5 bar and AR dot AZ bar will always be 0. So if you take the general DL term, so the general differential length in cylindrical coordinate system is dr AR bar plus R d5 A5 bar plus dz AZ bar. So if you take this relation, this general relation, fine, at that time also when we perform E bar dot DL bar, only AR bar dot AR bar will be non-zero. These two term will be 0 when it will be dot product by AR bar. Fine, so now we can write negative integration from B to A, putting the value of E bar and DL bar. We will have rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught R into dr. Now AR bar dot AR bar is nothing but 1. Okay, so moving further, we'll need to perform integration on, because here see the reference variable of integration is R, so the only terms which contains R will be there in the integration process. All other terms will come out as a constant. So we'll have negative of rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught come out as a constant, integration from B to A, 1 upon R with respect to R. Now this integration of 1 upon R is nothing but a natural logarithm of R. So again, negative of rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught, this integration will be natural log or log to the base E of the variable, that is R. The lower limit is B, upper limit is A. So we will have negative of rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught ln RA minus natural log of RB. Now in logarithmic relation, this negative sign will turn out to be the division, and this, if we apply this negative sign to this bracket, then we will have rho L 2 pi epsilon naught ln RB minus ln RA. So we will have rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught ln RB divided by RA. So this is very popular and general equation of the potential difference between any two points due to infinite line charge. Fine, here RB in RA should be taken as the perpendicular distance from the point from the infinite line charge. Okay, so if say we have a point B over here and point A somewhere over here, fine, then what distance must be taken? So this perpendicular distance must be taken when we are calculating any general term. Fine. For the simple understanding, I have taken both the points on xy plane. Fine. But for any particular case, every time it is not necessary that both the points are in the same plane. As you can see in the second case that we have discussed, point A and B. Point B is on the upper space from xy plane. Point A is in the lower space of xy plane. Again, point B is going inside the plane. Point A is coming outside the plane. So for any general placement of points, the only thing that must be taken care is that the distance RB and RA is nothing but the perpendicular distance of points from the infinite line charge. Okay, and that is why we have adopted the cylindrical coordinate system, because that radius in turns means the perpendicular distance from the axis of cylinder to the point of interest. Moving further, now we are going to discuss the potential due to surface charge. So with the same logic that we have applied up till now, so we have considered a very random surface charge. As you can see, it is tilted on very random angle above the xy plane. Fine. And there is a plane point A on which we need to find the potential due to the charge. Now here charge density for this charge is rho s, that is surface charge density, coulomb per meter square. So the process is very similar. First we need to consider a differential surface element, then we need to consider the position vectors, then we need to determine the distance between the differential element and point of interest, and first we will find dVA, which is nothing but dq upon 4 pi epsilon naught into distance r. Here in this case dq will be the rho s. If the charge distribution is non-uniform, then this charge density will be the function of the point, that is r prime. So rho s into ds prime divided by 4 pi epsilon 0. In place of r we can write r minus r prime. And to find the total potential due to this whole surface charge, we will have the surface integration of dVA. So this is nothing but the surface integration. In any practical case, this surface integration will lead us to the double integration. So we will have two variables with respect to which we need to integrate the whole thing. Okay, but here in a general sense, rho s is a function of r prime into ds prime divided by 4 pi epsilon naught modulus of r minus r prime volt. Fine. So the only change is that now we are going to consider the surface integration. Okay, so let us take one or two examples of surface charge and find the potential due to some different surface charge. So first example of surface charge is that potential in coaxial cable. Fine. So we all know the construction of coaxial cable in which a central conductor will be there. So I have considered a central conductor with radius a and a outer conducting surface with radius b. Fine. So this is our coaxial cable. Now we have some surface charge density rho s coulomb per meter square on this inner conductor. Fine. So but we already know that we can also represent this charge density in terms of line charge density. Fine. So if you want to convey that, now see, if you want to find here rho s, what is the value of rho s? The total charge q divided by 2 pi a, and say if the length of this coaxial cable is L, fine, then it will be q upon 2 pi a L, fine, equals to rho s. Now q, total charge, is nothing but rho s into 2 pi a into L, and if we move this L into left hand side, then it will turn it will come to the denominator, and it will be rho s into 2 pi A, and this Q by L is nothing but the line charge density rho L. So rho L is nothing but 2 pi A into rho S. We can use this relation at any time when we are considering the coaxial cable or conductor. Okay, so for this case we will consider the line charge density rho L. Okay, so again, considering now, this was just for the understanding of the relation between rho L and rho S. Fine. Considering the length of cable very high or very long compared to the radius, so we can have for very long cable E bar is equals to rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught into R AR bar. Here also we are going to consider the cylindrical coordinate system because the charge distribution itself has a shape of cylinder. Fine. Again, considering DL bar equals to dr AR bar plus R into d phi A phi bar plus dz AZ bar. Okay, so for this case we are going to use the second path of determining the potential. So the second path was, first we will calculate E bar dot DL bar. So E bar dot DL bar, we can have rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught R AR bar dot dr AR bar plus R d phi A phi bar plus dz AZ bar. So as you can see, AR bar dot AR bar will only give the non-zero value, AR bar dot A phi bar will give 0 value, AR bar dot AZ bar will also give 0 value. So finally we are having rho L upon 2 pi epsilon 0 R into dr, and AR bar dot AR bar will be 1. So we got the dot product as rho L upon 2 pi epsilon naught R dr. Now potential difference between these two surfaces, so VAB can be written as negative of integration from B to A E bar dot DL bar. So this is the same calculation that we have just derived in the case of infinite line charge. Okay, so all the parameters and values are typically same, and if we perform all the derivation, then we will have the final equation as rho L upon 2 epsilon naught natural logarithmic of the ratio outer radius by inner radius. Okay, so this is how we can derive the potential difference between the surfaces of any coaxial cable. Okay, provided the length of cable is very high compared to its radius, which is in general the practical case for any cable. Fine, the length will always be very high compared to its radius. Now the second case for the surface charge distribution is a charged circular disc. For this topic there are some variable manipulation that we need to do, or we need to perform due to calculation easiness, okay, and save our time. So considering a circular disc on XY plane with the center at origin, and I am considering a point of interest A on Z axis. Fine, so here radius of disc, see here the charge is distributed on surface. Fine, so considering rho as coulomb per meter square uniform charge distribution on this surface, then this h will be the distance from point of interest from the origin on z axis. We will consider a small differential surface ds prime with r, and the distance between the differential surface and point of interest will be under root r square plus h square. So here, as you can see, a right angle triangle is being formed, and with the help of Pythagorean theorem we can find this distance. Okay, so the fundamental logic behind the derivation is very same that we have discussed up till now. The only change will be in the process of integration, fine, because the surface integration will be performed, and surface integration, as you know, that it will require double integration. Okay, so let's quickly derive all the things. Here the small charge dq on this ds prime, we can write rho s into ds. Now this ds is in the direction of z. As you can see, this differential surface is in the direction of z. So again, which coordinate system is useful for the derivation? Cylindrical coordinate system. And in cylindrical coordinate system, the ds in the direction of z can be written as az bar into dr into r d phi. So r dr d phi will be the magnitude of this differential surface. Okay, so ds will be equals to magnitude of ds of z bar, so it is r dr d phi. Okay, now dVA, that is the differential potential due to this small differential surface, can be written as dq upon 4 pi epsilon naught into r. Now in place of dq we can write rho s will be there, rho s into ds. So rho s, in place of ds we will write r dr d phi divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. In place of r we will write under root r square plus h square. So this is a differential potential on point A due to differential surface element, and the total potential due to this whole disk can be written as, so total potential V will be equals to surface integration of dVA. So that can be written as, so surface integration is there, that means double integration will be there. dq is nothing but rho s into r dr d phi divided by 4 pi epsilon naught under root r square plus h square. Okay, so in this case we are having two variables for integration. So for the radius, the lower limit will be 0 and upper limit will be the radius of disk itself, that is a. And for the angle, if we want to cover the whole disk, then angle should be vary from 0 to 2 pi degree. So the limit for phi will be from 0 to 2 pi. Okay, and as we can see, there is no term containing phi in the equation. So that is why the integration of 1 with respect to phi will be phi itself with lower limit 0 and upper limit 2 pi. So solving that we will get 2 pi only. Fine. So for outer integration we will have the answer as 2 pi. Now when we will integrate with respect to r, at that time what will happen, the r is present in the numerator and it is also present with some complexity in the denominator. Fine. So to reduce that complexity, we will adopt the variable manipulation technique. So we have already done this in prior lectures. Again we are doing the same thing. So I am considering r square plus h square equals to u square. Fine. This is just an assumption. Fine. Now taking the derivation on both the side, we will have 2r dr. Here h, or this distance, is constant, so the derivation of h square will be 0 equals to 2u into du. So we can say r dr is nothing but u into du. Okay, so 2 will get cancel out. And for what is the lower limit of r? For r equals to 0, we will have u equals to h. if we put r equals to 0 in this case, we'll have u equals to h, and for r equals to a, we'll have u equals to under root a square plus h square. Okay, so if we are manipulating the variable, then our limit will also get manipulated. Okay, so keeping this as u1 and keeping this as u2, fine, our equation will change to be, so here rho s is constant, it will come out from the integration. Similarly 4 pi epsilon naught are also constant, so it will come out from the integration. Integration of 1 with respect to phi with lower limit 0 and upper limit 2 pi, we'll have the answer as 2 pi. Now the only thing which is remain is that integration from u1 to u2. Now in place of r dr over here, we can write u into du, and under root r square plus h square is nothing but under root u square. So under root u square is nothing but 1, u. So u will get cancelled out, and finally the only thing remained with us will be rho s. Now this 2 pi will get cancelled out with 4 pi, and it will leave 2 epsilon naught. Now integration of 1 with respect to u will be u itself, lower limit u1 which is nothing but h, and upper limit is u2 which is nothing but under root a square plus h square. So we can write finally VA equals to rho s upon 2 epsilon naught into bracket under root a squared plus h squared minus h volt. Fine. So this is how we can determine the potential at any point due to a charged circular disk. Fine. Here also the h is the perpendicular distance of that point from the disk. Fine. If the point A is over here, then we need not to consider this distance. Fine. This distance is of no use for us. Fine. We need to consider this perpendicular distance from the plane containing the disk. Okay. So this is how, with the help of cylindrical coordinate system, we can determine the formula to find the potential at any point due to charged disk. Fine. Ultimately, a charged disk is an example of surface charge distribution. And the final topic for today, so the potential due to volume charge. So as you can see in the figure, I have considered a volume charge, very random, fine, and a point P over here, fine. You can also have point A to have the same convention. So again, we will have the position vectors of point of interest, we will have the position vector of differential volume element, fine. Here the charge density will be rho v as a function of r prime coulomb per meter cube, and doing so we can have the small charge dq on this differential volume element as rho v as a function of r prime into dv prime. In many literature, the volume element is represented by tau. Fine. So it depends on the author. There is no difference in the understanding of cases. So here dq is rho v as a function of r prime dv prime, and the small potential or differential potential at point A due to dv prime is nothing but dq upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. So we can write rho v is a function of r prime multiplied by dv prime divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Here r is nothing but position vector of point of interest minus position vector of differential volume element. Again, I want to remind you that potential is a scalar quantity, so these are only values of distance. Okay, directions are not considered. And to find the total potential at point A due to the whole volume charge distribution, we can have the volume integration of dVA, and volume integration is nothing but triple integration when we solve any particular case. So this is how we can calculate the potential at any point due to volume charge distribution. So here we are completing this lecture, and I hope you are enjoying the series. Your doubts and queries are always welcome. So use the comment box for the same. Thank you very much.